Hey guys, welcome to Honey, We Need to Chat.
Where we believe when communication dies, bad things happen.
Here's a clip from our podcast.
Let's get chatting.
Honey, we need to chat.
Well, this is where things are going to get a bit different to what we normally do. When looking into the parenting space on Reddit, the questions around parenting on Reddit, I realized that a lot of them were just like moments of people being like, I need help. And then it's the comments that actually filled out the stories or filled out the purpose of the post. Whereas, a lot of our other topics, they tell a story and then they try to get like an opinion on it. And so I thought instead of just telling someone's story and then us chatting about it, what if we look at some of the comments and the responses that people have gotten to these questions that they've put out into Reddit and get some value from there?
Nice.
So that's what this is going to be.
Hey guys, we hope you are finding today's episode insightful and helpful. If you're looking for more resources on strengthening your relationship, visit our website. We offer a range of blogs, free resources, and you can join our email list for regular updates and exclusive content. Head over to honeyweneedtochat.com to explore more. Back to the episode.
So this post is titled, "For those who maintained a happy marriage while raising kids, what did you do right?" And the person says, I've seen it discussed a lot on here that evidence indicates that raising kids negatively impacts marital satisfaction. And this seems pretty accurate among those who comment. For those who felt that raising kids did not have a negative impact or had minimal negative impact that simply comes with less quality time together, having a little human dependent on you 24/7, what do you think helped you with this? What did you learn to do or to not do that kept your marital satisfaction high? So the first comment that had a lot of, they call them upvotes, just to educate us on how Reddit works. I don't really even know how Reddit works, but I know they're upvotes. The first comment was, one thing helped a lot. You hear a lot of parents say their kids are their lives, but no, we love our children who are adults now, but we made our relationship the top priority. If we had a bad marriage, how can we set an example for our children about healthy relationships? We maintained a healthy sex life as well, along with plenty of hugs, kisses, and general affection. We did go on dates regularly, and we never let a day pass without telling each other how much we love them. We always communicated and put aside an hour a day, usually at bedtime, to just spend with each other and talk. And we're both terribly happy. So that was a very popular comment.
I think that's good too. Like we've had this conversation as well. Is like the kids, our lives can't revolve or change for the kids.
Well,
That's
they can
right.
change.
So yeah, I was going to say that doesn't sound right because
they can't revolve around the kids. Yeah. Our relationship can't revolve around the kids.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had to, and that's where again when we first had kids, when we had our first kid, we decided from the very beginning like date nights are so important for us, and that's why I think even from the beginning, going through COVID and all that sort of stuff, that's why we really put in so much focus on that, even at the stay home date nights, because that was so important, especially going through COVID, where it was just like, man, our opportunity for out of the house activities was gone. And so the home was just home. There was no specialness to it. So making that special was really important. Yeah. Based off this conversation that we're reading now.
Yeah, exactly. So the second comment, that exact topic is going to play out through all of these comments as well, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, there's like thousands of comments. I did not copy them all. I just took the top ones. And the second comment I'll read out is, I'm only 1 week postpartum with our first, but we've had lots of discussions around this prior to birth. We are people first. We are a couple first. If we weren't a couple and our relationship didn't exist, neither would our baby girl. We're one and done, which I imagine will help, meaning they'll only have one kid, which I imagine will help, and have talked about what happens when she moves out. We can't only have her to talk about for the next 18 years, because then what? We get to 18, our baby girl moves out, and we have nothing left to talk about or do together. And I don't like that idea. And then someone responded, I think it was actually the first commenter responded to this and said, that is a very healthy way to think about it. We are retired now, and both of our children are adults with partners of their own and their lives of their own. We are spending our time now traveling together and just enjoying what we worked so hard for all those years. And because we did make our relationship the top priority, we are stronger and an awesome team now. I love spending time with her. We are just so comfortable together that we can communicate almost without words a lot of the time. And then someone else responded saying, this right here, our son's needs come first, but our marriage is very close second. We prioritize taking time to just be with each other, whether that is a trip away with the grandma watching the kids or just take out after the kids in bed. We are affectionate with each other and generally just love being around each other. The other thing is having each other's backs when it comes to parenting decisions. Sometimes you need to make a snap decision and you need to support each other, and you need to support each other in that in front of the kids. Another person responded to that saying, I'm curious, does this apply when your spouse wants to do certain things with the kids, like letting them cry it out because they don't want to get up at night, doesn't want to sign up for sports because they don't want to do pickups, doesn't want to cook healthy meals every day and frequently does takeouts or frozen food? Other parenting decisions based on personal comfort. Do you prioritize the partner's preferences or the good of the children? I don't have kids, but this is something that I've thought about. If I do have kids, it's so funny. Reddit is hilarious like this. If I do have kids, what happens if and when the good of the child butts up against the preference of my spouse? Certainly choosing someone with similar values is important, but there will always be some level of difference. And then the person responded,
just with that really quickly, like I think this is funny that that person's gone on this whole thing and it's like, I don't have any kids. But I think in that scenario, it's just like, well, you don't just do everything that your spouse wants to do. That's not what we're saying. That's a whole separate conversation about, well, you guys work out what you decide together the things you're going to compromise and all that sort of stuff. You don't just say like, oh, my spouse doesn't want to, that's it. And that's the decision ongoing. That's part of the conversation.
Yeah.
That's part of the developing the team as parents.
Yeah. And I think that they're right. You wouldn't normally end up in a relationship with someone with drastically different values.
You might.
You will have differences. Right? Yeah. But I think once you're at that point of having children, for maybe not for everybody, tend to be on the same page about enough things, but you will have differences. And that's where you do navigate that. And it is that conversation. And no, it's not just about my partner doesn't want to do this stuff, so we just don't. It's a conversation. So someone wrote back and said, I think you have to look at each decision as something that will affect the whole family, like the sleep thing. If the parents are at the end of their rope with sleep deprivation, with sleep deprivation, that is also harmful to the baby. Risk of car accident goes way up. They have less energy for playing and talking to the baby during the day, less patience. They might struggle at work, etc. Maybe the solution is parents taking shifts with nighttime care. Maybe the solution is co-sleeping. Maybe it's sleep training. But if your partner is looking at some kid-related task and saying, I can't do that, it's too much, that needs to be taken seriously. Burned out, resentful, overstressed parents are also not good for kids. Of course, if it's just, I could do that, but I don't want to, that's something different. You do need to feel like your spouse is just as invested in parenting as you are, and that they have similar priorities. I think that's really good too. Like the story we've just spoken about, it looks like he's just doing nothing.
Yeah.
And as we just discussed, I don't think that's usually the situation. I think there's often a lot of stuff just going under. Not always, but often. So when you do have these differences in parenting, and we have had these differences in parenting, not these ones necessarily, some of them, but not all of them. And I think when you do have them, it's not just the person's deciding, no, I don't want to do healthy food, I want to do takeout. That would never be just their random decision as a parenting style. What would be sitting behind something like that is, how were they raised? Where's their mental health at? What's their priorities? Do they understand healthy food? Like there's so many things that sit behind that. So the curiosity and the conversation is really important, because you're not meant to just be navigating a partner saying, I don't want to do that because of this. You are navigating a person with experiences and that have shaped who they are, now playing out in their parenting, and they're your partner that you love. So you're trying to figure out how to work on that together. And then the last comment was, we're still in the thick of it. 3 kids, 6, 4, and 3 months. But here's what works for us. Don't take things personally. Be quick to forgive. Keep your sense of humor. Be intentional about how you spend your time. Make time for each other, even if it's just after the kids go to bed. It was interesting to watch the put your partner first conversation play out. A lot of people commented back on that and was like, yes, this, people are so scared of this. So one of the responses was, yeah, that's right. Our son's needs come first, but our marriage is a very close second. And a person responded and said, this is where the issue comes in. You're hearing neglect your child's needs and put your spouse first. And that is not what's being said. And then at the end, they said, kids should not only see a healthy relationship between parents, but they should also experience a healthy relationship between parents and child. Meeting your child's needs should not mean neglecting your spouse's needs. But putting your spouse's needs first doesn't mean neglecting your children, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction, because I do think a lot of parents fall into this trap where they're like, we have kids, they're our priority. And it's not that they're not your priority. It's just that if they're your priority over your relationship, the relationship being not a priority will erode underneath all of it. And no, it's not about like put your spouse's needs first. So don't feed your children and don't change their nappies. They're like anything that's for their safety or their well-being, you're now like they're dependent on you. So you're now responsible for that. But you're meant to be doing that as a team. And I do think there's something missed across the board with parenting where they think, oh, I have to put my kids first and then my partner second. And I think that tiny little adjustment actually really makes a really big difference.
Something that comes into my mind too, and I've always wondered this, parents that co-sleep with their kids, right? And we've had our kids sleep in our bed and stuff like that, but they always go to their bed first, right? And this isn't a diss on it. This is just a not understanding part. Like parents that sleep with their kids like 4 years old, sort of older, right?
Every
so this
night,
isn't just baby. Yeah. This is just where the kid sleeps, is in their bed with them. And in my head, I'm like, where do you guys get the chance to be intimate? Like, how does that even look in that circumstance? Because that's so important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, your child in that relationship, because I know the focus is the relationship, really building the relationship with the child, but where is that time? Where, and that's a genuine question. Just I like, maybe they're like, cool, we'll go to the couch. I don't know. Like, or what does that look like? Because that's what goes in my head.
I think that's a good example because co-sleeping, which we really like when we've had our newborns, they've been in our bed for at least the last 2 have been in our bed consistently for months. And then we'll get to the point where we're like, we need space. Like we can't have them in the bed. And then the same thing with the room. Like we've been pretty quick to move our kids out of our room when they're babies, like around, I don't know, a couple months old, maybe even.
Yeah.
Except for the last one.
Yeah.
And then that was different. Yeah. And but even that, like we were like, you could feel that we needed him out of the room. Like it was just like, we need that space. We can't be constantly, our whole routine is around don't wake the sleeping baby in our space and that kind of thing. But I think the topic itself is not what dictates whether you're prioritizing your relationship or not. So co-sleeping, yeah, it does add confusion, like add complications to that. And I have the same question, like, where does that happen? And I do know some families who their whole family is in the bed with them, with all their children for a long time. And part of me loves that. Like, I love like that you could have them there and you could just all cuddle and sleep together. But exactly where does your time alone come in?
And not saying it doesn't happen. I was really very, very clear on that.
Yeah, that's what I mean is like the actual topic itself isn't what dictates that. It does add its own complications, but it comes down to how you're navigating that. So you could still be prioritizing your relationship because you've made something work, like you said, the couch or something like that. Whatever it is that you've got in place that works with that, as long as the decision you're making isn't at the detriment to your relationship. And when I say detriment to, I want to be clear because, you know, especially right after you have a kid, for example, you're not supposed to do anything for 6 weeks. And that's because your body's healing. That doesn't mean that's at the detriment of your marriage. And so that's an example of like, we got to be careful with how we define those things. What is the detriment? But I think I think everyone knows at their core what's at the detriment of their relationship.
And it's not a once-off thing too. Like, so when you're saying the detriment of your relationship, we've said that, you've just said that word like 20 times in 1 minute. Detriment. But it's like, it's this ongoing thing. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of probably more your measuring stick rather than, oh, we didn't do it this time or we can't do it for 6 weeks. Now our relationship's going to be messed up. It's not that. It's like this, it's more about patterns.
Patterns, the culture. It's the focus. Yeah. You can find yourself years, and we've done this. We've talked about it on episodes. Found ourselves years down the track and being like, oh, hang on, we really need to readjust. We're not like prioritizing. We've become just friends and just existing rather than...
We've gone into the friend zone too much.
But anyway, it's an interesting distinction.